situation that drives them to seek an answer. So you need to provide a safe place for the speaker to tell their story in their way. One of the disciplines that I call it a counseling discipline is the ability to listen to a client, to let them speak, just allowing them to speak, to find out what's their fears and what is their story, and in their own way. And remember, stories are jumbled and mumbled and confused and so on. So it's okay just to be present, just to be there. They need to experience that they have been heard. Hulle is gehoor. And they have been acknowledged that their reality, their painful reality, is important. And it's a place where people can hear and understand their own stories. Most of the time, you are just the facilitator of this process, because once people start to unpack these stories, things change. And it's, Flippy, this is exactly what you just explained to us. It's gently helping them. We're not doing a chiropractic movement by lifting up their head and cracking their spines and I don't know what else, to see the broader picture, to get more perspective, to have a wider point of understanding. And this, to me, is critical to go forward in hope. When people lose hope, they find themselves in a place of despair. Despair undermines our ability to climb out of our current circumstances. So hope is what we want to generate in our client. Now, you're going to meet your client for the first time. In counseling, you really well, you should not be counseling friends. You're counseling strangers, people who come to seek help. So we have spoken about this in your video lectures, but there are some things that you need to go and greet your client. Chandra, what happens when a client arrives and is it which dog is it that's so happy to see everybody?
Ja, Zola. Oef, genade, hulle blaf my ore van my kop af as elke kliënt by my stop. Maar dis 'n ysbreker, want ek sê, my honde het jou weer kom groet. Ek is so bly jy's hier, baie welkom." En dan het ek 'n stryd om my honde stil te kry vir die volgende 30 sekondes.
And especially in the beginning, it's extremely stressful because you do have environmental issues that you can't, you don't have a remote that you can stop the dogs from barking. We don't have that control over them. So go out to the gate and engage the client almost in normal life, like you would do. Then you need to be friendly, warm and professional. Now, I want to say that, remember how when Jesus washed the feet of the disciples, he did not wash clean feet. They were dusty and muddy and dirty. They were not clean. Chandra, jy kan jou klank aanhou, want ek kan ook saam met my beginpunte sit as jy wil, as daar iets is wat jou, want dit is belangrik hierdie. So, you need to meet them where they are. We're not meeting them in our Armani suits, but we're also not meeting them in a tracksuit, unless it's a situation that you can't help. Okay, so, and you take them to your consulting area and you can practice a question, how to put the client at ease. You need to walk ahead of the client, especially if it's the first time. We're talking about first timers, because they might not know about where your office is, or they might be so nervous they get lost in your house or whatever the case might be. Now, what I do is offer water to drink. I prefer just to have bottled water. It's easier for me to just give somebody a bottle of water, because then I don't have so much dishes to wash at the end of 10 clients at the end of the day. You have to have how many glasses or whatever, but some clients prefer a glass. So, you know, you can have things like that. And Chandra has explained that pets help us to break the tension, but I can't remember, it's a Zola that loses hair or something, or climbs on somebody's lap, and not every client likes that.
Ja. Een van my kliënte het verskriklik begin, dit was in COVID tyd, so dit was dan nogal moeilik, en sy begin te nies en te hoes en te proes, en ek dog, ou my woordvrou, wat gaan nou aan met jou? Hoekom is jy hier? As jy siek is, hoekom sit jy by my? En toe is dit eintlik net van sy is toe nou allergies vir honde, en die honde was nie eers daai dag daar nie, maar partykeer as ek daar sit, kom lê die honde op my skoot as ek daar sit 'n Bybelstudie doen in my beradingskamer. So van toe af moet ek nou my deur toe hou, my banke skoon hou, matte skoon hou, dat as jy 'n kliënt kry wat allergies is, dat hulle nie 'n reaksie het nie. Dis nogal 'n groot interruption.
Can I just make a point of what Chandra has said now? So she has to be adaptable. She learned from something that did not work. She did not know about this, and she had to make a change. For instance, now for the first time, she closes her counseling door so that the dogs can't be there, or the cat, or whatever the case might be. Just interesting. If you're going to have plants in your counseling room, don't have jasmine. Jasmine is a hay fever bomb. So for people, there's just something in the jasmine. I love jasmine, but it's just something like that. In your greeting phase, you make small talk for about 5 minutes. And then tell your client what you plan to do during that session. Tell them, empower them so that they can be, I will say, okay, today, I just want to know why you're here. Why do you feel the need to talk to someone? Something like that. Get something that is true to yourself. Practice the phrase. And then there are general fears that the client has, but you need to make it, you need to look at the way that the client interacts with you to be able to know what's their fears. Whether it's confidential or the uniqueness of a problem, there are some prompts there, but I think Chandra and Karina can tell you, everybody's fears are different. Not everyone is the same. So for us to tell you what they are going to be is going to be a little bit difficult. Okay, but confidentiality, say that the togetherness and so on. And then you need to be prepared. Highlight that one for me, please. You can't go running around finding pen and paper. Okay, I'll get this to you now. Let's just quickly go print this. No, you can't be chaotic. You have to be the stability in a client's life that's already experiencing chaos. However, I had a client that's very rigid in their way of thinking. So every time they came to see me, we sat in a different chair, to sit in a different chair. So I moved it around, especially just for when she comes. And then, so eventually and in the one session, there was no chairs and we worked on the ground. We had to do story cards and we worked on the ground because it was just easier. But that's built up to a place because she had so much structure in her life that she could not allow for disruption in her life. And you know that power goes off, the telephone rings, life happens. So just the physical place where I had to change, I did not play to her defense mechanism. I used the defense mechanism to engage her in a positive way. Okay. And then cell phones. I want to talk about cell phones for a minute. Chandra, Karina, I need you guys can also add something to cell phones. Cell phones are a reality of life. But you can't be disrupted when you're in counseling with phone calls. So part of our maybe doing something together in the beginning is let's switch off our phones or put it on, what is it, airplane mode or something like that. And don't get disrupted with messages that comes up and things like that. You also need to turn your cell phone around so you don't see the messages that comes in or whatever the case might be if it's on silent. And if you're like me, 3 days later, you still remember it's on silent or on airplane mode. And then you have like 17,390 messages that you have to catch up on. But yeah, right. So turn your phone around so that you don't see. I use my cell phone quite a lot in my counseling because I use it to take photos of something that we might have done creatively, but I will always ask, may we take a photo of this? Because some things can't be repeated. Let's say it's sand tray therapy. They've built a sand tray. You're not going to keep the sand tray in forever. Take a photo and we can continue to work with this. Okay. Anything else I need to say, Chandra, from meeting a client for the first time from your side?
Can't think of anything else at this stage.
Maybe I should just say one thing. Make sure that you have enough light, meaning you don't want to sit in the dark. That's something that is important. Karina, from your side?
Not that I can think of.
What I remember now, once I offered coffee for a client and I made coffee, and that is wonderful. But when they start telling their story, they don't know what to do with the coffee. And then the coffee became cold and they don't want to leave it. And so I ask if they want something to drink and offer them. I've got a small fridge in my counseling room with bottled water, and they can help themselves with the water. Instead, if it's very cold, I am making coffee, no problem with that. But then you need to tell your client, it's okay, you can put your cup down, it's okay, you don't need to drink it, you don't need to finish it or what the case may be.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
You need to take the lead in the conversation. That's part of meeting their fears. Please listen to what Chandra said about the coffee. That's quite a critical thing to talk about, because what do you do with these things in your hands? And what if they mess? Or, so that's you need to take the lead and be the safe space for the client. Okay, so meeting your client, and why this is important, because how you meet your client in your first session that's going to set the tone for everything else until you finish. So you can't correct the first impression. It's done. Okay. So it's quite an important one. Maybe the other thing, if you're seeing clients in your house, I know Karina and Chandra, they have counseling, me too, space in our house. You have to manage other people as well, music, teenagers, babies, animals, whatever that might be. So, Karina?
Dogs.
Dogs, yes, that's all part of the story.
Washing, hanging.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Karina's counseling office looks out onto a wash line in a certain angle, so she moved the stuff around. I think I remember something like that. So yes, you don't want somebody looking at your underwear while you're in counseling.
Or you need a blind in front of a window or something like that.
Yeah. So go and sit in the chair that you're going to give the client as well. So make sure that it's available, and be comfortable in your own chair. You have to be comfortable with the things that you need for yourself. I like the water idea. They can take it home with them. They can close it, and people do drink more water. And I always have water for myself anyway. Okay, so that comes us to the practical arrangements. Tissues is important. But I want to add, it's now post-COVID, and we're going into a new COVID strain, blah, 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 again. You have to have hand sanitizer there. That's something you have to make sure that, and they need to use it if they want to use it or something like that. Obviously, you don't sit with masks while you're having counseling. You have enough personal space not to use the masks and so on. So, but I want you to have hand sanitizer or wipe or something there. Tissues is important in case somebody cries. Men also do cry. Just have the tissue there. Something that you need a waste paper bin. What do I do with this tissue in my hand? It must be there where the client sits, you know. What else? Visible clock, that's obvious for you to see, not for the client. I have found that clients worry about the time. I've one client that keeps repeating, saying to me, I don't want to waste your time further. So I said to her, I know what's the time, so you're not wasting it. Don't worry about it. And I will tell, and I've learned with her, we're getting close to closing. Is there anything else? And then she will relax, be more relaxed. But I have to do this constantly. She's driven by time. So, okay. Stationery, whatever you need, your notes and your Bible. Now, Chandra, do you play music in your counseling session?
No.
Karina, do you do it?
No.
Okay. If you are going to play music, it has to be what we call white noise in the background. Please don't play water, like, you know, like waterfall, because people want to go to the loo. So don't do that. This is practical stuff. We think it's cute and it's beautiful, but you can have instrumental music. That's the other thing I just want to say about music. And you must make sure that if the music is playing in the beginning of the session, it must play right through. You mustn't stop for it. So why have the additional stress? Honestly, I don't know. And then your Bible. Just a tip there, have an extra Bible for the client available should they want to use one. And I have my own, my husband will be very ashamed if I show it to you. This is my counseling Bible. This is what it looks like. See this? See, it's been fixed. It hasn't got the gold letters. Everything is gone. I use this one. In the beginning, I used to have a perfect one that was very, very leather bound, everything. Didn't work for me because I wanted to be professional. And then the one day I used this Bible because I knew where the verse was, and the person it brought to, okay, you actually do read your Bible. So, but for this was quite a breakthrough, but it's up to you as individuals. What does your Bible look like? Mine is just this Bible's been to Israel. It's been everywhere with me. It's about 25 years old. It's a lifetime of notes and things that's in this Bible. So what does your Bible look like? How do you wear it? Do you have it? Then that's what I want to say about the Bible. Have it available, but not in a prominent place.
Lizette, the only thing that I want to add, that is something that I often use, but that falls more under the stationery, is a clipboard. I have two clipboards, one for myself and one for my client, because sometimes we do exercise, or said I give them opportunity to write something down, and it always works to press on something. So
just in post-COVID, you need to wipe the pens after your client has been there. So just saying, just keep that in mind. You need a couple of, and you don't have to expensive pens, but I have colored pens and all sorts of so on. So make sure that you have stationery that you need. Okay. The basics for the counseling room is important, but I want to talk about light, is that people can see one another. And then the other one, don't have fluffy pillows and bean bags. I went on a what do you call it? A course one day on it was a coaching course, and they made us sit on bean bags. eventually the next day I went back and I took myself a pillow. You can't get up off the beanbag. You know, I'm not 15, so I have to get up from that beanbag. So, yeah, so, but pillows is nice to have, but it might be uncomfortable for the client. Okay, and then you must please make sure that the bathroom is clean. We have 3 types of clients. Those that first use the bathroom, those that leave to use the bathroom because they think that's a good closing, and those who don't use the bathroom at all. But yeah, have a clean bathroom available. And with the bathroom, I want to say, make sure that the towel is dry. We have 1 bathroom in our house. So if I have a client here, let's say I see a client here, then I will make sure that it's a dry towel and not one that somebody has used previously. I know it sounds silly, but it's one of those things. I would go if I have to use somebody else's where the towel is wet. So I won't do that. That's just me. I've got a bit of an OCD problem or something like that. Okay, this is where I want Chandra to talk with me as well. That's where her notes comes in. A client should not be, and I want to talk about boundaries. You don't see family. It does not work. You don't see somebody that you are in a sexual relationship with.
Lizette, I just want to, sorry, I see it is listed at the bottom, friend.
Yes. You don't engage in an employer or employee, instructor, business partner, or a friend. Friends obviously can be, the Afrikaans for kennis is not a friend. It's just somebody that you know, somebody you met once and so on. So don't build a client base in this way. You can be a supporter or encourager, but you can't be a counselor to them. Your knowledge that you have will taint the counseling space.
Yeah.
And it will taint your relationship with yourself, because what is your role now in this place? Then clear boundaries. Now, we've had, was it last year, Chandra, or the year before? We've had quite an issue where clients of our students, not the students, the clients use alcohol.
2 years ago.
Oh, thank you. I could not remember, but it was noticeable at that time. There was not just one client, there was more than one client. Then now I will answer you in a minute. So if alcohol have been consumed by your client, you don't have a session, if you know about it.
Oh, Lizette, and that is actually so important, because it's not a constructive conversation. Often people get very aggressive or very passive. It is not beneficial. And there's an important thing around that. We teach people how to treat us. And that is part of the discipline and the respect that they also need to have towards the process. So the big question that I always have is, how serious are they about this if they can't even show up sober?
Chandra, did you have a client or something similar that happened to you one time?
Yes, I do. She actually used drugs. And halfway into the session, I realized it, because I was asking her, did she take something? Did she use something? And then she said yes, and I end my session.
Yeah. Okay. You
I
end the
cannot help
session.
her.
You cannot help her because she is not clear-minded. Okay. So I just want to say something that Chandra, help me remember. I think the student actually was trying to help her clients, really trying to help the client. She actually went to the client's house, and the client was totally, she had, I don't know how many, 6 beers or 12 beers or something to prepare herself for this meeting.
They are using substances like breezes, wheat, anything just to calm them down for this counseling session.
Yeah. So, and yes, you do want to help the client, but the client doesn't want to help themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not doing rehab here. This is not rehab. This is counseling, one-on-one problem-solving counseling. This is not rehab. You cannot step into that situation. And the other thing at that point, you don't go to a client's house.
Yes.
Students,
No.
you're not
Very
allowed.
important.
Yeah.
For your own safety as well, because
Yeah.
you never know what you walk into.
Yes. So they come to see you. You are the person in charge of your space.
Mm.
That is your safety. And don't think you don't need it.
Mm.
Chandra, I want to ask you a question too about people need to take responsibility for their own lives. Chandra specializes in marriage counseling, for instance, or one of her specialities. And she saw a couple, dynamic, let me say successful people in the environment. And the man told you to fix it. And when you didn't do things as he decided it should be done, he didn't come back. Something like that. Can you?
Yeah, he just didn't come back. I didn't fix his marriage. He got a relationship with another woman. That's why they came for counseling. And then after 3 sessions, I just couldn't fix his marriage. So he stopped coming and he never paid me because I didn't fix his marriage.
Yeah. But he needs to change his behavior. For instance, I just want to say this is the reality that we're facing. So also, I need you to, I want to come back. You're not allowed to go to a client's house. When you do hospital visits or sick bed visitation, that is not Egan counseling. Right. So let's be clear, for while you're at Philadelphia, to protect yourself, do not go into a client's house. You don't know what happens within certain houses. I want to just say something here. This happened Easter Friday. Somebody picked a 10-year-old little girl up from the side of a road where her parents have chased her out of the house. Now, this is 6 weeks ago. This is the current reality, and everybody wants to go and help and sort of thing. If you go into that house with that, there's high level of physical abuse, what's going to happen to you? One of our Philadelphia pastors, she's now sorting out Jesus's life in heaven. She actually did go to help a woman, and she got hit in the face. This is not our place. We're not policemen. I know it sounds cold, and I know it sounds as though we are not compassionate. But you can't go and step into a crazy situation and try and help somebody when when police is needed or other people is needed. She was physically attacked. She landed in hospital. So that's reality checking. So do not go to the house of the client. Right. My sermon is finished. For us at Philadelphia, the other point is you see, while you study at Philadelphia, you see women. Women see women and men see men. Wilhelm and Diaz, you will see males, and all the other ladies, you will see females. This is an important protection. Do not think that it cannot happen to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lisette, and I think it is actually so important that we do realize that this is ministry, and the enemy will come in and he will try and destroy your ministry if you're not careful. So it is not a thing of we want to be controlling and tell people what to do. It's just stuff that we have learned and often in the hard way.
And you're busy with your studies right now. When you're in your own counseling space and you start to move in your own way, that's fine. But right now, under our protection, our covering, that's what we've seen it. We've seen the reality of where somebody is a male have entered a female emotional relationship, and suddenly it's just a huge thing. It's just happened recently. So do not do that. The other thing about boundaries, Chandra, Karina, please, you don't WhatsApp your clients unless it's a business WhatsApp. Business WhatsApp is in business hours.
Lizette, I think it's actually so important that we do talk about the whole thing around WhatsApp, because what also happens often is you become the middleman, because they start forward doing all the messages and you need to sort it out, and it's not a constructive session. So it makes it extremely difficult. And the other thing is, when we want to teach people about boundaries, we need to lead by example, and we need to also have the balance between times that we are available and times that we are not available. One of the things that is challenging me and Lizette both is this whole thing about rest and recovery, build performance. And we need times where we are not available on social media, where we are not available on our phones.
Chandra?
Yes, I'm not available after 6 in the evening for my clients. I see the message, I will answer tomorrow morning. Presies wat jy nou gesê het, Karina, ek doen marriage counselling, dan stuur die man 'n WhatsApp my wat sy vrou nou net vir hom gestuur het, en die vrou stuur my WhatsApp wat die man nou net vir my gestuur het, en dan al wat ek sê is sorry, ons sal daaroor praat in ons volgende sessie. Ek raak nie betrokke op WhatsApp nie. Ek het een keer gedoen, not worth it.
Please write this down.
Time consuming. Oof.
Not only time consuming, but your words gets twisted.
Mm-hmm. And all
Because
of a
it's
sudden
out of
your message
context.
gets forward to other people and things like that. So it really can become very ugly. You need to think about protecting yourself.
Clients, you have a professional relationship. We've spoken about professionality. And the same, you need to have that respect for yourself, your family, your children, by setting that boundary. So in Chandra's case, after 6, she doesn't answer her clients. I suppose if you want, you can have 2 phones, but as you hear, I've lost my phone already just by having tea. So I will not manage 2 phones. So, okay, so, but WhatsApp, please be careful with the WhatsApp, and don't give advice over WhatsApp. Don't give advice.
Make an appointment with your client.
Yes, make an appointment with your client where there's a structured conversation.
And even if they can't come to see you physically, you can do a session online, but it is within the boundaries of a dedicated time.
Yes.
I just want to say something, Danielle has asked a question here. Have you ever encountered a conversation with a friend and realized that they see the space as a counseling session? You just let it be, Danielle. That happens. I want to say naturally, might be that the client, that your friend might feel like you have helped them in that place. But as you, may I use the word, grow more into the counseling, you'll say, okay, but maybe we should refer you to somebody who can help you, if you understand what I'm saying. That doesn't mean we don't give advice, or we're not say, okay, I can't get involved in this problem or that problem. That's not what I'm saying. For instance, my mother-in-law had an issue, huge issue. They have made a mistake with her tax, and they didn't, it's a huge drama. And so she's got only a third of a pension, which is very little. So I had to go and tell her we're going to do, I had to listen to what she's saying. And I showed her that by drawing up her money and showed her how much money she actually has, that she will be fine. See, that I suppose can be called counseling, but on the other hand, it's also helping her. So what I'm saying is formal counseling is that when you have a session like Egan with 6 weeks with a friend, I'm not talking about in a conversation. Chandra, your thoughts? Same, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It happens to all of us. So you just move on and you don't, don't.
That is like a coffee drink conversation with a friend.
Yes, it happens, you know, but you don't have a next session or something like that.
No.
Any social media is relevant here, Mandy. I'm not, let me answer you like this. Yes, you can, obviously a client can be on your Facebook, but you don't engage them with, was it Messenger?
Yeah.
You don't talk on Messenger, you don't talk on or any other platforms. There are so many, Snapchat, Talk Chat, whatever, FaceTime, all those things, you don't engage them. All social media is relevant here, but it doesn't mean a client can't be part of your Facebook posts because you might post some upbuilding things that they need or something like that. That's fine. We don't live in a bubble or behind closed doors that nobody can see what we're doing, but you don't engage via Facebook Messenger with a client on a personal way. Right. That brings us to Facebook. Be careful what you share on Facebook because you are now a leader in ministry. Here's the question before you share anything. Is it building me up? Is it building up the body of Christ or is breaking the body of Christ down? Is it edifying or destructive? That's the simple way to look at it. Okay. And obviously, we don't discuss private stories of our clients on Facebook and things like that. So, okay, so that's something that I just wanted to mention. We are moving on to an expansive part of the story. This is where you're going to practice active listening, reflecting, paraphrasing, checking, understanding, open questions, and summarizing. What you guys are doing to me when you use the chat box, when Chandra and Karina engages in conversation, or even you want to say something, that helps me to say that everybody understand where we are moving to. And I like that. That's what I want to know. So we need to actively engage in our client, and active listening, and I think we have done it in our studies, is also the body language that we need to start to take note of. Also, we started with you did not realize this, but you had an active listening exercise already today. When I asked you what did Chandra and Karina and I talked about in the beginning, just talking about friends, and what did you learn from that? That is active active listening. Cindy's asking an important question. If you see one of your students posting rubbish posts and being negligent, will you contact them or do you leave them? I think, Cindy, I will do this in a, I'm not if it's not on Philadelphia's, let's use which platform it is. If they have not posted something relevant on My Philadelphia's Facebook page, then I will not remove it. But if there's something that's worrying, let's say they post, what can I say, satanistic viewpoints or something like that, I will contact them privately and ask them. I will not engage them on Facebook. I'm not going to have a Facebook argument with them about the post. If I really feel something needs to be said, then I will engage them, yes. But that again, it's more with maturity than just to, and I'm not going to have a Facebook fight. No. I don't do that. I will just say, maybe you should, what are you trying to say? Maybe your message is not clear or something like that. But we do that make it's quite serious about some things people post. But I mean, it's also a private page, so you might find it funny to put cutie pie, cutie cats, and I don't know what's the cutie stuff people post on there. Little things with pink flowers that talk and all sorts of crazy things. So, but I'm not going to censor, I'm not a censoring body, but if there's something that can break them or even hurt them or hurt Philadelphia, we have to do it seriously. We have done it in the past, but we don't engage it publicly, we do it privately. I hope that answers the questions. Okay. Good question though. Okay, and questions, please highlight those questions, Chandra. In the they have a whole thing about the questions, how questions work and so on, and what are a question and what's a good question. We're going to get there, but I want you to ask good questions. Prepare the questions that you're going to ask. You know that if you're going to see my preparation, then what I have done for this webinar, it's not 100% the same as last year's. So there's different things that I prepare that I want to share. So prepare the questions that you want to ask. How do you feel about that specifically? Don't say how do you feel. I was so excited to start today because I love Egan. I think it's a wonderful model. So that's why I said, are you ready? So let's get going. Are you excited about it? What are you thinking? What's your thoughts regarding a certain point? And what was that like for you? Keep open, keep the questions open. And then I've added another question. What else is there about that? People tell a story in their way, and they think that's all there is. I have a challenging situation with a family member, and then I challenged them and said, is that all that there is? No, there's more. I said, what is the more? And suddenly these perspectives start to change when they look at the more, because they only tell a story to suit their own narrative. But there are more than one. The context is huge. People's stories is very big. There are lots of dynamics in your stories.
Lisette, just on the useful questions, one thing that I want to add is we need to be very cautious to ask double or triple barrel questions, because so many of us are doing it. We ask 2 or 3 questions and then we actually confuse the client because which one should they now answer?
Yeah, this is also not what's it, who wants to be a millionaire? Let's fire these questions at everybody. No, this is not
You've
what
got
it
10
is.
seconds to answer.
And the other thing is, be clear about what you want to know. How do you feel about that? Be clear. There's something specific about that, not general questions. But your skills in questioning is really going to develop. But you need to practice it. All right, so you need to have this page 41 in front of you. We are so kind, Chandra, they don't have to draw the square. Then I need you to have a red pen. Red, it's red. Purple, blue. And you need, I think we can do it with, and green. We need green. I almost forgot about my green. Okay.
And yellow.
Right.
Red,
now,
purple, blue, yellow, green.
And red and yellow. Yes, I forgot about yellow. Sorry. Thank you. Right. So maybe, Chandra, you should do this exercise.
I don't have the questions in front of me.
Okay, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. I have it. So, all right. So what you're going to do now is you're going to listen. And you have to do what I tell you to do. So listen carefully. And you're not going to have a lot of time. I'm going to ask the question, breathe, and then I'm going to go to the next question. Okay. Top left, write your name in red. Top middle, draw a purple flower. bottom right, draw a green heart with dots in it. In the middle square, the middle, draw a red heart. On the right hand, in the middle, color in the square yellow by making use of yellow. At the bottom left, draw a purple heart, and then in the heart, draw vertical stripes. In the middle of the left-hand row, the middle row, left, draw a yellow flower. Okay. I need to know which block has not got anything in it, and I need you to type it in quickly. Which block have got nothing in it? Right top. Okay, so we have to go onto the top right. You need to draw a blue heart. And in the bottom in the middle, a blue flower. Now I need you to put your pens down, and I need you to take a photo and WhatsApp it to us so that we can see what you have done. I can't repeat. I can't repeat. But I will for you. That's a good question though. Actually, you should just take a photo as it is right now. But at the top right, it's a blue heart. And in the middle, the middle is a blue flower. Okay, let's see. I'm waiting. Oh, there we go. We're starting to have some interesting flowers. Okay. This was very, very quick and very brief. And very powerful in the Chandra's exercise that she's given us on how to listen. You need to listen and understand what we have actually said. So Cindy, I want to come back to you because I've done two things differently this year. One thing differently this year, Chandra, I've deliberately left out two, or I was planning to leave out 3 blocks to see if people will realize that something's been left out. As also because sometimes clients tell a story, but they omit an important part. So that we could ask what should go in there, sort of thing, you know. And then Cindy, you did the right thing. Sorry, please repeat. If you don't know, please ask. Please, please, please ask again. We actually should have done this very quickly. But it's important for me that you guys can see this is what active listening is actually about. It's about understanding what the client is saying and putting it in the right place. Very simple exercise, but very powerful. And this is the value of listening. This is what we call the value of listening. So I love to see it should look something like that. It should look something like that, but it's cool. Right. I'm not going to go through the definition of listening and things like that. Again, you have got it in your book, but I want to go to the next point, and that is the how to listen. And there's an acronym for listen, and you need to complete this in your study guide on page 42. The first one, you need to look interested. This is why I love it when we can have all our screens on and I can see everybody's faces, because it's not always possible for me to do that. And I know it's not possible because of the internet, so that's fine. But we need to look interested. We need to look that we can see what's happening around us. You need to, and Cindy, I'm coming back to you. Involve by responding. Sorry, please repeat the last two. She realized she actually corrected herself and realized she had to say what I have to repeat. So thank you for that. Involve by responding. Also respond to, but respond and not interrupt. Sometimes a client sees something and you want to say, oh, wow, yes, that's so cool, but you interrupt them. So what we need to do is I make a note of that somewhere. And then I go say, okay, thank you for that. Can we just start in the beginning? You said the following. Did you hear that? I didn't realize I said that. That also shows you respond. Okay. Do not interrupt the client. Stay focused. This is difficult. Right there in red, the most difficult one ever. If you are tired, it's difficult to be focused. If there are disruptions around you, it's difficult to stay focused. To stay focused is actually a discipline we need to practice. Jesus, when he listened to the woman at the well, John 4, when he listened to the woman at the well, he listened and stayed focused, and he used the words that she gave him back. He used the same analogy, used the same words, he used the same language. And she became, that Samaritan woman became the first evangelist ever. She ran to a village and said, I have met the Messiah. Such a powerful message. The minute that you stay focused, something happens. You need to test your understanding. What do I understand what the client has said? Do I understand it fully? Don't I understand it fully? You need to evaluate what the client is saying as well. Is it taking us towards the goal or away from the goal? What is happening with what the client is saying? And then you need to know that you will also feel emotions. When I told you guys about a 10-year-old little girl, what did you feel? What happened for you? How could you identify with that little girl? She's in foster care, by the way, being taken care of, and there's a whole process now happening for her. So she's actually very safe. Yes, Danielle, thank you. Thank you for using your emotions. Yes, you feel sad, upset, heartbroken, maybe even. We have to be aware that our client's story will also impact your emotional responses. The thing that I found lately, or that I found most surprising about me, is that I become angry when somebody has been mistreated. I don't like to hear when people have been mistreated. So I find that sad and heartbroken. And when somebody tells me I find unfair, I become angry. So, but I can't let my anger impact the client. Okay. Chandra said, do not listen to answer, but listen to understand. And that is also a discipline in listening. To stay focused is also that discipline, because we were trained by our school, when somebody says something, you have to answer. We have to listen to understand. This is what Jesus has done when we go look at the narrative of the Samaritan woman at the well. He keep asking questions to enlarge the understanding that the client, the woman, eventually came to some form of understanding. Listen with curiosity. That, I love that. You must want to know more. You need to have a genuine interest in the life of the client. You are allowed to be honest. Some things are difficult for me. Some things are easy for me. Some things makes me sad. I'm honest with my emotional experiences regarding that. Act with integrity. That word act with integrity actually means to be yourself. That's what it means. To be in line. Karina said it earlier. To be in line with your values. The greatest problem with communication is we don't listen to understand. We listen to reply. When we listen with curiosity, we don't listen with the intent to reply. We listen for what is behind the words. What is the message, the underlying message, the message that's not been said? And then we can be there for them. How to be a good listener. There is a little handout there for you. Your eyes need to be on your client. You don't need to stare. Please don't stare at your client, but watch what the client is doing and act naturally. I use my hands a lot. At one stage, I try not to. I try to sit on my hands or something, but I've decided to be authentic. I use my hands. I always have a pen because I always need to make a note and so on. Lips are closed while you listen and hands are still and your feet are quiet. There's not that tap, 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 tap while somebody is saying something. And you literally, like our dogs, tune your ears to what you want to hear. To give it direction that you are tuned into the client's story, into the client's experience. Okay, so as we prepare, please note there is a preparation here. We are on page 43. So this is how you go. This is some of the preparations we're going to do for us before we meet our clients. This is the before part. Is we're going to look at the different tools. We're going to look at, I ask you to revisit your listening skills and body language. We're going to look at some tools now. There are 4 tools for you that you can use to help you to understand the client. Tell your story, empathy mapping, open questions, and the orange problem analysis. Which of those are familiar to you already? You should know them. There are some that should be familiar. So yes, on our page 44.
Oh, Daniela saying empathy mapping, orange problem analysis. Isabel saying orange.
Yeah, so you remember from your level
open
1.
Questions.
Yes, you remember from level 1, we have had some of these tools. So I want you to see something. The tools that you have received enhances your practice. You don't have to, with who was I talking to about the amount of tools that you have by the end of your studies here? You have more than enough to adequately do your practice. So you don't have to go and do too many things when you've finished here. Okay, so our first one, there are 2 ways that you can, so on page 44 is the example. There are 2 ways that you can use this tool. You can either ask the client to do it before the time, but please note, we talk about something which is called a template. A template means an outline. So nobody can answer in 2 lines their life while they were in primary school. You can say, write a paragraph, 3 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs, whatever you want. You can say, this is just a prompting. Okay, so to tell your story focuses on what happened to the client up to now. And now they can say, what is my current problem situation? So they can come and tell you that they are having huge stress because their parent have to move into their house. They have to make allowances for their parent to move into their house. So that is your current problem situation, for instance. So this tool can be used in 2 ways, either as a before. It's quite a nice tool to have before, because then you have all the information you need from the client, or you can give it to them as homework. You're not going to complete it there because your focus only now is the current problem, but this gives you information. Sorry, Chandra?
That's what I want to say, Lizette. Remember, we are busy with a current problem. So this tool is most effectively for the client to be completed before the session. You can email it to her, you can WhatsApp the questions to her and ask her to type it out, to write it out for you. So you know about the past, but we are focusing in session on the current problem situation.
Yes. So that's important. So highlight that. I find this a good tool so that I have information about the client. I might never ever go back to this, you know, because as you journey with the client, you're going to have more and more information. But it does help the client to start to think about their life.
And the other thing is, Lisette, sometimes you can see a pattern or a blind spot that is not necessarily visible to the client yet.
Yes. So, but don't focus on that, but you can start to see this. So this is, I like what Chandra is saying, email it to your client. Then you have a good, maybe we should all use this tool, email it to your client before the time, and then they can complete it. And you have that information, that background information, because that will help you as you continue with your client's life story. But the focus will be the current problem situation. Okay. Then we have our second tool that you guys remember, your empathy mapping. Your empathy mapping is your tool. I almost want to ask you to go and revisit the empathy mapping when you have to write your report. Because this is what you have to give to Chandra. What did they say? The client story. This is about the client and the client story. What did they say? What was the words that they use, the metaphors that they use, and so on? What did they do? It's the visible behavior, the visible actions. You need to, they kicked the dog, they jumped up and down, they ran away, they drank coffee. What did they do? They pressed
playing with their fingers.
Playing with their fingers. They tapped, or they closed off the body language at a certain point in the conversation.
Or they're holding their arms.
Yes.
Closing up.
That's actually, or they put their hands into fists, you know, and they relax a little bit, and then he clenches again. What did they do? And then what were they thinking? We can find this because they will say, you know, the other day, let me give you a little bit of background. When Chandra was in her 3rd year, and it was at the time of a trauma workshop, a dog bit me in the face. It was a huge dog. So I'm blessed that I don't have any, I have scars, but it's not that bad. But a certain stress reaction is not part of my body. And so they did trauma. I was the guinea pig, and they did trauma debriefing with me that you're going to do at the end, our next contact session. And then when they visited me, Stephen was husband was speaking to me about his sister that was attacked by a dog. And the other morning when we went running, you won't believe me, a huge Alsatian chased us. Luckily, Craig was with me, but that adrenaline, that fear, instantaneously, I really thought I'm going to get bitten by that moment, because, you know, it woke in again that instant trauma that I had when the dog attacked me. Can you see, there's my story. What did I think? I was like, oh, I'm going to get bitten by the dog. I also thought there are three kinds of dog owners: responsible, stupid, and irresponsible ones. That is what I was thinking. And I'm going to write a note on your table and say, are you stupid or irresponsible because you can't close a gate? So that is what I was thinking. Just to let you know, that's the thoughts that went through my head. What did I feel? I was scared. I really had a big fright. I really did, because Alsatian is a huge dog. And so on. But anyway, what did I feel? Around that client story, I gave you background. I gave you a timeline. I gave you actions. I gave you thoughts, and I gave you emotions. But within 5 seconds, 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes of this incident. Use this tool as your information that you need to write in your report. Also, my story is a confused timeline. I gave you 3 incidents: my incident, a story about somebody else, and then now again that I was chased by this dog, for instance. So there's those 3 incidents that or the 2 incidents previously that activated an over emotional response in me, for instance. But there are, because the story about Stephen's sisters actually got nothing to do with what's happened here with me, but I'm tying it in. I'm making it, in my mind, I'm bringing it together under the theme dogs bite, whatever. So just to let you know, so use that because that's actually got nothing to do with the problem that I had, the stress or anxiety thing that happened to me. Okay. So even though the story is relevant in my mind, that's what you can do. Empathy mapping. I want you to use this tool. Chandra, I'm asking you, Chandra, refer them to this tool, that use it constantly. This will help you to stay focused within your conversations as well. Remember the tools on. We have tried to put tools to each phase, but they're not exclusive. Does that make sense? You know, we're not. They can be used in different ways. All right, so your empathy mapping. On page 46, questions, questioning. Open questions cannot be answered in words, in a few words. They encourage the client to speak and offer an opportunity for the counselor to gather information about the client and their concerns. Now, here is question examples. What brought you here? What did you think about that? How did you came to consider this? Could you tell me, it's another phrase of what brings you here today. How did you feel about this or that, and so on. And then tell me more is an excellent question, but I like to ask questions that clients leave out. Omit phrases. They tell you a story. I would like to know, I would say, Lizette, when we first met you, you always had a dog with you, so you love dogs. How does this story, this narrative with dog bite affects your narrative with dog fear? Interesting question. Let us talk about that. That will open a story, and so on. All right, so you need to write down and practice questions. What will you ask when? You think you know, but honestly, sometimes you do not know what to ask. And here is this next one, 2, 3, with the the questioning. I want you to please take this out and maybe just make sure that you always understand what this is. A how question invites clients to talk about their emotions. How did the dog that bit you affect you? How did you feel about that, or whatever? The how. What question has to do with facts, details? When questions brings about information regarding the timing of a problem. But please, timing is something we skip over. Timing includes the season it happened in. Winter, summer, autumn. The timing includes the actual time, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. The timing includes age. The timing includes what happened before, what happened after. Yeah, there's so much about timing. Don't just get confused. Emotional maturity and things like that. That's also important. Then there's a where question. Interesting. This people experiences more stress or deeper pain when they are attacked in a safe environment. That's a very interesting scenario. And I want to demonstrate it like this. I'm in my safe environment. I'm in my office. I've got colored pens and papers and things around me. My dog is next to me and I've got coffee or tea actually, and so on. I'm in my safe environment. And if we now get a message from load shedding in 5 minutes time, I'm going to have a huge stress reaction because the load shedding is completely out of my I can't control that, out of my control completely. We have a specific outcome that I want to do. That's important, and it's in my values to teach and so on. That's very important to me. And now this huge stress of what happens if this happens right now. So where you are, find yourself that where question. I was at church, I was at the shopping mall, I was just driving my car. That where question is critically important. What's significant, and then we're going to talk about this in the next contact session as well. What significance do the client attach to this place? Something to consider about. What significance do the client consider to this house or this place where it took place? And then the reason for, the why question, the reasons for it, the why question. Our questions are not designed to be silly. They are really designed to elicit as much information as possible about that client. Okay. I'm not going to continue on this. You guys can read it. Our next tool will be the orange problem analysis. And since you already know the orange problem analysis, Karina, we now have time for our breakout rooms. We're going to go into our breakout rooms and you are going to look at the following problem. On page 48 and 49, there is a current scenario that spells out a range of difficulties the client is facing. You are now going to try and analyze the problem in the orange problem segment. In other words, what is the problem? Who's involved? Can you find out what's the problem? Can you see the who that is involved? What, when, how, the different aspects, and so on. So you're going to analyze this case study. Right. It is, I want to give you at least half an hour, but I think you guys are going to need more time. So that will be about 10 to, let's say we are back at 12 o'clock. Can we break 12 to 12:30 for lunch at the same time? That we will be back here at 12:30. What do you guys think? I think that's a good break. Then we get back after lunch. So you only have half an hour for lunch, unfortunately. I'm a slave driver. I love teaching, so I'm afraid you're going to have to stay strong and focused and be awake. Okay, so you're going to talk about the problem. You're going to try and use the case study to apply this tool. Okay. Can't hear you, Karina.
I've opened the room, so everyone should be going into the rooms. Oh, I think Diaz, he has a tribunal thing going on since 12. So I don't know if he's there because I have added him to room 1. I just want to see.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
No, I'm going now because it is very far.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Be
Thanks,
pleased.
Diaz.
Be pleased.
Thank you very
Strongs.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Ek het vir Chandra eers in room 2 gesit, Lizet. Dit is met Carla, Danel, Zanay en Isabel.
Ek het gesê discussion till 12 o'clock. And then lunch. Not crunch, lunch. Until 12 H30. Ek sê dit sommer net in die groepie.
Ek gaan seker net ek moet net gou hierso stop.